So last, I also wanted to talk about isolation and machines because I have kind of bad-mouthed them a little bit right now. So it's like, oh, why are they in the gym? Let's take them. Let's get rid of all of them. They do have their point and their purpose, and like I said, it depends on what your goals are as to whether whether you'd want to use them or not, or how often you'd want to use them. So first of all, what are the pros? Um, they're fairly safe and easy to use. So particularly if you're a new gym user, or um, if you're just a bit knackered, and it's like, oh, I couldn't be bothered doing this and that and the other. Oh, they're the machines. I don't have to do much. All I have to do is sit down, put the pin, and away you go. And because they are stable, you can't drop weights on your head. You can't do anything too crazy with them. So as generally speaking, they're fairly safe and fairly easy to use. That's definitely a pro for them. If you're a bodybuilder or if you want big bulky muscles, then yes, you definitely want to use machines and isolation because you need to overload those muscles to make them grow. Okay. And if you want to target specific muscles, I use isolated movements quite often to target certain muscles that become lazy or they've become inactive in that chain, and I want to get them to contribute. So the common one that you may have done is that side lying leg lift, getting the butt muscle to work, or maybe a dumbbell reverse fly, where you tipped over, and we're targeting those upper back muscles. There's a number of different ones which just specifically focus on a particular muscle to get it to work, or rehab, and for the same reason. A muscle might have got injured or switched off or what have you, and you can then specifically target that muscle to try and get it working. And then once it is working and contributing to that chain, then going back into those full functional, full body movements. Those are what I consider to be the three biggest pros. The cons, I think, highly outweigh the, the pros. So the first one, which I freaking hate, is that you sit down for all of them. People get up and they sit down to eat breakfast, and then they get in the car or on the train, and they sit down for an hour to 2 hours, and they go to work. And they sit down for 8 to 10 to 12 to 14 hours at work, and they catch that train or that bus back to the gym because they're going to change their life. I'm going to get fit, and they go and sit on a machine for 45 minutes. They sit down. It just seems so counterproductive, and you're losing so much that you could be getting so much more out of your workout rather than just sitting. There's no functional core activation. Sure, you might be able to tense your core as you're doing certain movements, but as I said, there's no stretching or moving and shifting weight in the way that we use our core in everyday movements. It promotes that shortening and the tightening of muscles. There's no lengthening or an extension. In fact, because gravity does lots of movement for us for free, if we come back to that leg extension, you put a big weight on it and go, and use the muscle to lift it, and then go, and just let the leg drop. And then lift it again, and then let it drop. So all you're saying to the body is tighten, 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 tighten in that seated position. And then you go off and do your 16 hours of work, or it's at the end of that 16 hours of sitting. So it's just compounding an already problem. It's only one link in the chain, so it's putting more stress on single joints. The machine does the stabilizing for you. So if you're doing free weights and doing dumbbells, those dumbbells can go anywhere, and it's up to you to control them. Whereas the machine, it's always moving in that same mechanized pattern. So all you're doing is building strength in those big muscles, and the smaller ones are having a holiday. So all you're doing is building strength in those big muscles, but your connective tissue and your fascia, it doesn't have the strength to support it. It's like I went to a seminar, Michelle was talking about, it's like taking a V8 engine and putting it in a chariot. It just doesn't work. It's going to break down. Are there any questions about that?
So the TRX, the straps are fine because you use your body, right? But
Yeah. Yep. One, you're on your feet.
Yeah.
And you're having most of the things you do on the TRX that you're engaging your core. And when I say the machines, I typically mean the pin-loaded machines, the one that you're sitting down. The cable machines are awesome. You can do a lot of isolated movements with them, again, if that's something that you're after. But you can also do a lot of full-body functional movements with them. And so for TRX, if you're leaning forward into a chest press, for example, you have to use your core and all those stabilizers through through the shoulders to hold yourself properly. Yeah. Or if you're leaning back this way to stop your butt just sinking towards the ground, or to stop you sinking into your shoulders, you have to engage all through here. there's a lot more muscle involved. You're using the muscles as an integrated unit, all as one, rather than just focusing on one area. And the cable machine, the same thing applies. If you're facing away from the cable machine and it's pulling you back and you're having to keep your weight forward, you're having to engage your core just simply so you don't get pulled back into the machine. You have to use the stabilizers in your shoulder to control that cable as you try and push it forward. And even the legs are involved in a stabilizing fashion. When I was talking about those myofascial lines, they're all important, but two other important ones are the functional lines. The rear functional line includes the lateral thigh, the butt, and then crosses over the body using the opposite latissimus dorsi. So it's a big diagonal here. And you've got another one there. So any exercise where you can get these two muscles to work together is really, really good, really functional, and builds strength through across that myofascial connection, including the thoracolumbar fascia. So it's really good for pelvic stabilization and protecting your back and core strength. So anything, for example, that lunge and row is a common one. We're using the butt on this side and the lats on that side. And the other one, there's an opposing functional line. On the front of the body goes across and includes your adductors, the inner thigh, that way and that way. So when we talk about locomotion and walking, that's included in that line. As you counter rotate with your upper body, as your hips rotate, in this case, clockwise, shoulders rotate counterclockwise, that line stretches out, as does the other one when you go in the other direction. Okay? Any other questions?
Can I just make a comment?
Yep.
I've noticed that I've been doing more of the core exercises that Amy showed me during our sessions. Amy, you'll be proud of me. I've been doing them. You've probably seen me more than you can. I've been doing them. And what I've noticed is that sometimes when I use the ping machines, I can sort of go through the range of movements, but my head's totally elsewhere. So I'm thinking, oh gosh, I have to do the shopping, and then I'll be like, I've got to pick this up for the car. Oh, what does my husband need? And I'm just doing these movements. When I'm actually doing the stuff that on the floor with the functional movement, I can't think of anything else because my mind has to be totally engaged in what I'm doing. And what I've noticed is when I've been doing more of the functional movement, even just by myself, I actually feel more energized mentally after I leave the gym as opposed to sitting on the machine.
Yeah.
And that's only come to me just like in the last couple of weeks.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah.
Has anyone else experienced a similar thing where you can just sort of daydream off on the machine, but if you're focused in that movement, then you're a bit more here?
I've got an iPod Rob on it and it goes, hold it, turn this, yes.
Yeah, that is actually, it's probably a conversation for a different masterclass and a whole thing on it about like mindset and how people are not here. We're always doing other things and completely unaware of what's actually going on in the body or what's happening around you, especially now in the modern world where that is not my phone, but the world is in front of your face here. Even when you're outside, there's this beautiful day, sunny. But this is where my attention is. You know, if you actually ask, oh, how are you feeling today? Or how's the body feeling? Oh, that's right. If you actually got them to slow down, breathe, think about it. And, oh, actually, I can feel this, and I can feel that, and I can notice that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One of my pet hates is different times in the gym. Someone's laying there doing sit-ups. Either do it or don't.
Yeah. On the plus side, at least they're still moving. I've seen plenty of these ones.
My hate is the bench when they've got the towel out, they sit down,
Yeah. Yeah, actually, probably might evolve to a point where there'll be a no phone policy. Leave your phone in your lockers. Um, but hmm, yeah. But coming back to what you're saying, that is another major advantage of this style of training, is that particularly the skill based movement training stuff, is that research has shown that it actually improves cognitive brain function, because you're always having to think about what you're doing. You're also having to think about what's the next thing you're going to do. And if it's a new movement for you, or one that you're having to relearn because you haven't done it for many, many years, you're opening up new parts of the brain or reigniting dormant areas. So you're either building new neurological pathways or you're rebuilding and strengthening old ones. You're building activity in the brain. And research has shown that it can prevent Alzheimer's and various other mental diseases and those sorts of things.